Have you ever gotten to the bottom of a page of a book that you're reading and think, wow, I remember nothing? Well, if this does happen to you, then in this video, I'm going to give you a solution to that problem. So let's get to it. Hey everybody, my name is Josh McCartney, and in this video, if you are the kind of person that gets to the bottom of a page of a book or an article and you think, wow, I've forgotten everything after 5 seconds, then you need to go back and reread what you read and then still probably don't remember it anyway. Then this video, I'm going to break it down into 5 different steps for you to be able to memorize and remember anything that you want. So let's start with tip number 1. When you're reading a book, don't try to remember and memorize as you are reading. It may sound a little bit weird, but trust me, don't try to memorize. Instead, what you want to do is take a highlighter or a marker or something like that, and you can underline the key points and words that you think are important. Or you can have a journal or a notebook next to you that you can write down the key points and concepts that you want to remember. This is going to be the information that we prioritize to putting into our next step, which is step number 2. Step number 2 is setting up something called a memory palace. Now, if you have heard about a memory palace before and don't know how to use it, then let's do it. A memory palace is very simple. We use a place that we are familiar with and we store some information to that place. So let's use your home, for example. Go to each room in your house, starting with the entrance, and pick out 5 large pieces of furniture or fixed objects around in a circle. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That might look like a couch, a coffee table, television, mirror, painting. Then you would go to the second room in your house and do the same thing. Another 5 objects, but this time you label them 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that might be a closet, maybe the bedside table, maybe the bed, maybe the window, maybe another mirror if you have it. Then you go to the next room, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, so on, so forth. Now, step number 3 is where it gets interesting. Step number 3, we want to use that information that we wrote down to turn into pictures and put them in our memory palace. So that would look like this. Let's say you had to remember who the Axis powers were in World War II. Well, the Axis powers were Germany, Italy, and Japan. So if we wanted to turn that into a picture, we can imagine Adolf Hitler eating a pizza with chopsticks, because we all know Adolf was German, eating a pizza, which is Italian, with chopsticks, which reminds you of Japanese. And you would imagine that happening in the first room on the first piece of furniture that you labeled. And you could maybe imagine Adolf Hitler spinning on his axis because you wanted to remember him on the Axis powers, right? Next, we'd have cynophobia, which is the fear of dogs. So if we wanted to turn that into a picture, we could imagine a dog running towards a sign and maybe it crashes into the sign, falls over, looks up, and it's a big dog and it's scared and it runs away, right? And you can imagine that happening in the second location in your memory palace. Let's say that you wanted to remember what a baby goat's name was. Well, it's actually called a kid. So you can imagine a kid riding a baby goat on the next position in your memory palace. Then let's say that you want to remember how many teeth the average adult human has. Well, the answer is 32. You can imagine turning a 3 into a heart because the top of a heart kind of looks like a 3, right? And a 2 looks like a swan. So you have a love heart with 2 swans rotating around it with big adult teeth because you want to remember how many there are. Step number 4 is make sure to use vivid imagery with these pictures that you are creating. So you notice that I started to use a bit of action. Things were happening. So Adolf Hitler was eating a pizza with chopsticks. It's a bit of a weird visual image. You can see it. You can kind of maybe smell the pizza. So you want to engage your senses. Maybe you can feel what the pizza would feel like in your hands. Maybe the chopsticks in your fingers. Maybe you could smell the pizza. Maybe you can taste the pizza when you're eating it, right? So you're using your senses in these pictures. That helps to create a stronger image. Also make sure to make it weird and visual, just like the dog running into the sign and smashing over. That's a vivid, actionable image. You can kind of see that and maybe hear the sound of the dog thumping against the sign, right? Maybe on the baby goat on the farm, you can imagine the sound of the goat and a kid laughing while riding the goat, falling off. Make it actionable, make it weird, make it vivid, because the more weird and vivid and emotional you make these things, the much better you're going to be able to remember long term. Step number 5. Let's say that you have 5 pieces of information per chapter that you want to remember. Then, each room of your memory palace could represent 1 chapter of a book. Let's say that you have 10 pieces of information from the book that you want to remember. Well, you could use 2 rooms of your memory palace. Then guess what? If you want to remember 15, well, you could imagine 3 rooms instead. So you're only limited to how many places you can create in your memory palaces. So start off with your own home. Then you can use somebody else's home. Maybe you can use a venue. Maybe you can use a cafe you've been to, maybe a restaurant, maybe just some favorite location that you've been to. And keep making these memory palaces. Just like anything, the more that you start to do it, the better you get at it. So let's go through it one more time. Step number 1. Don't try to memorize while you're reading. Just write down and list the key points and the key words you want to remember for later. Step number 2. Build a memory palace. Go to the doorways in your house, pick out 5 large pieces of furniture, do them around in a circle so it's nice and easy to walk through in your mind. Do that for each room of the house. That's it. Step number 3. We want to turn those key points and key words and concepts into pictures and put them into our memory palace in whatever order you find necessary. Step number 4, make sure to use emotion and action. Make sure things are happening in those images so it gets easier to remember it and also much harder to forget. And then number 5, say you're trying to remember 5 pieces of information from that chapter or the article, that you can use 1 room per chapter, per article. And there you have it. If you find this helpful and useful, please share it to somebody it might help. And if there's anything you guys want to see in this channel, please make sure to like, subscribe, put your comments down below. I'll get back to you and start creating some more content, whatever's going to help you. So thanks.